Is that good? Are we
I'm good.
okay? Hello, everyone. If anyone's here on my YouTube channel live, I'm with an industry expert in the beauty industry, Ken Callison from Allied Beauty Experts. And Ken has been my insurance agent for years, I'm proud to say. And I not only have a permanent makeup business, but I also have waxing salons in San Antonio, and he takes care of me there as well. So I know, Ken, in talking to my colleagues through the years, people are always confused about insurance. It's like we spend so much time on our art and learning our art and things that have to do with working on our clients and doing great work. But sometimes we don't spend the time on the business aspects of things. So that's kind of why I wanted to bring you in. Can you just kind of tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah. Um, Basically, Allied Beauty Experts started, 35 years ago. And so, as part of what we offer as a national association in the beauty industry is an insurance program. But we have other programs like we'll find you a medical director if you're running a med spa, or we'll create a website for you, or a number of other benefits which are on the website. But the insurance we've been doing for 30 of those 35 years. And we specialize in the beauty industry, whether that's permanent makeup or day spas or medical spas or whatever. And we cover pretty much everything out there. We cover it on an occurrence form, which is much better than a claims made policy. We can go into that if you'd like.
I would love to go
But
into that. I think it's really important.
it is, and you are right that a lot of spa owners kind of ignore the business aspect of running their spa, or they're just afraid of it or not familiar with it. But as an association, we also help you run your practice. And we consult with a lot of members, and we don't charge for that. We just try to help them because they are members of the association. But insurance is just one of the aspects of running a company. Uh, and I look at insurance as a layer of clothing. So when it's winter out, you kind of layer your clothing to protect yourself. So insurance is one layer of protection, but being incorporated is another layer of protection. Doing a good job, being certified, taking care of your clients. We find that when people are rude or nasty to clients, they have more claims than spas that aren't rude and nasty to their
Absolutely.
clients. So there's
Absolutely.
some intangible things here. Getting a consent of release form signed is important. It's required by almost every insurance company. Some go very overboard with that. We ask for it one time a year for a client, and it kind of covers anything you would do for them. So that's kind of the introduction of who we are. We cover all states except Alaska. It's a $1 million, $2 million policy with no deductible. We also cover some business property if you have computers or furniture, or your equipment certainly is important to cover. But, and I can go into the occurrence versus claims made if you'd like me to start there.
You know what? Let's do that because I found that fascinating when I talked to you and you told me about that, I was shocked. I mean, I'd been doing permanent makeup for years and years and I never had I never had heard about that. So let's talk about that.
Well, basically, almost everybody has a claims made form or policy out there. That's what insurance companies offer. And the way that works is you pay your premium and you think you're covered, and you're covered for, say, a year. But if you don't renew, or if you forget, or the coverage lapses, or whatever, that policy is then canceled. But it's not canceled as of then, it's canceled as of the inception date. It's like you never had coverage. So you could be paying premium for 5 years. And if you retire, take a leave of absence, forget to renew, whatever, if you don't renew that policy, it's canceled retroactively for the last 5 years. So if you have a claim come in, you don't have any coverage. An occurrence form If you
I'm
pay,
mind
I
blown.
know,
I'm sorry.
well, it's meant, it started in the medical industry, and because they don't like exposure. Once a customer is no longer with them, then it's like they never had coverage. And then the other problem with claims made policies is they tend to increase the premium. We haven't increased our premium in 20 years, which is unheard of.
Right.
But the claims made insurance companies or policies tend to increase their premium every year because now they're covering 2 exposure or 3 years of exposure. So you kind of have the worst of both worlds with a claims made policy. With an occurrence form or an occurrence policy, once you pay that premium, let's say you have insurance for a year and then you retire or forget to renew that kind of policy, you're still covered for the time you had the insurance. You're still covered for those treatments you did. You wouldn't be covered for any new treatments if you don't renew your policy, but you're covered forever for the previous treatments. That's really good quality coverage. And so that makes a difference to know what kind of policy you have. And some are blended policies where the professional liability is on a claims made form and the general liability is on an occurrence form. And a lot of these carriers will advertise they've got an occurrence policy, but it's only for the general liability portion. It's only for slip and fall. For professional liability, which is injuring somebody in a treatment, they still treat it as a claims made policy. So you really want an occurrence policy for both general and professional liability.
So
And
you
ours
really have to
covers
ask these
both general and.
questions. Yeah, you really have to
Mhm.
ask these questions to the company you're talking to. You have to have a really good agent, in my opinion. Somebody that can answer your questions and takes the time to spend with you answering your questions, right?
Well, I've run into agents that didn't know the difference between an occurrence and a claims made
Oh,
policy.
God.
So if that is the case, get another agent, quickly. So you got somebody that doesn't really know how to protect you.
Yeah.
So, and what I think, unfortunately, you find these days is it's difficult to reach your agent because nobody answers their phone anymore.
Right.
So we respond within 24 hours, usually the same day. We can actually get you covered the very next day. Some of these places have a manual application that you have to fill out, and they send it around to insurance companies to get quotes, and quotes come back high, or the coverage isn't right, or you don't even know what they're proposing.
Yeah.
And it can take 2 weeks to get covered.
Yeah.
And then if you do have a claim or do have a question, reaching them is problematic.
Yeah. I want to say one
So
thing. I'm not promoting Allied, but I've had you for years. And I have to say, if my policies are ready to expire, someone is on the phone bugging me to death to make sure I get everything renewed. And that's a good thing because, I'm a really busy person, and every artist out there I know is also really busy. And sometimes these things happen. But Allied is always answering their phones. If I have a question, I get on the phone, I call them. I've not had anybody say, I'll get back to you in 24 hours. They're on the phone with me. So it's been a really good experience, and I appreciate that as far as your company goes. And I just think that's very important, especially since the pandemic and nobody cares, and like you said, nobody wants to answer the phone anymore. So anyway, to me, that's valuable, really valuable.
well, thank you very much for the compliment. We try. We're not
Sure.
perfect, but we try.
Yeah, we all make mistakes. We know that. But,
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's how that long-term relationship goes, right? So,
We also have a very flexible system that takes 10, 15 minutes to fill out an application. It's submitted online. You have a dashboard so you can change your coverage when you want to, or you can call us and we can change it. You can always get to your insurance documents. We take good care of our customers just like you do.
yeah,
And yeah, you're right. On renewal, we send out 2 or 3 emails. We actually still mail a renewal notice in the U.S. mail, and we call 3 times. And then we figure if somebody after 6 or 8 contacts doesn't respond, then they probably don't want to renew.
right.
So, so we give it our best shot.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what you recommend. Say I'm a new artist. I'm just getting started. Maybe I'm working for someone or I'm leasing space in one of these big salon suite types of situations. How do you know how much insurance to recommend for someone who's new or just starting? What do you think?
Well, most policies are $1 million, $2 million policies, which means
Okay.
coverage is capped at $1 million a year for an individual claim and 2 million aggregate for the whole year if you had 4 or 5 claims.
Okay.
Well, if you have 4 or 5 claims a year, you've got some real problems in your practice, but
Right.
the insurance itself is $1 million per claim and 2 million per year. There are some policies that are $1 million per claim and 6 million per year, but that's just basically a marketing, in my opinion, a marketing technique to make it seem like you're getting more coverage. You are if you have a $4 or $5 million claim, but I've never even seen a claim that high.
Okay.
Yeah, claims can vary from a few thousand to a couple 100,000. And of course, the legal costs are an important part of that, the stress. The reason you have insurance is to protect yourself, but also to reduce the stress. And the stress of the legal system is enormous.
Right.
75% of the world's lawyers live in the United States. So if that gives you an idea.
Mm.
Um,
Do
you
you
know, we're
help
very,
us with that? Say we have a claim or we think we may be, somebody is going to file a claim against us. Do you help us find a lawyer that maybe is local? Or, I mean, how does that work?
yeah, we take care of everything from
Okay.
the start of the claim. We may offer you the opportunity to find your own legal counsel. You may know somebody. And depending on the nature of the claim, we would direct you to hire a particular kind of attorney. But
Okay.
yeah, we handle the logistics and the costs of defense.
Okay. Did you also say your company has no deductible on your policy?
On the yeah, on all of the liability. You basically have a policies divided into the liability, which is general liability or professional liability or both,
Mhm.
things you get sued for. And
Mhm.
then we also offer business property coverage, which is your contents. And that will have a small deductible, usually
Okay.
500, but the liability has no deductible.
So contents, what I'm thinking right now, North Carolina and all the permanent makeup artists there who like around Asheville, maybe lost their shop or had damage inside. What kind of coverage is that property coverage?
Well, depending on the location, most policies out there, including ours, have a 50-mile limit from the coastline. So they
Okay.
don't cover hurricane damage within the 50
Okay.
miles of the coastline,
Okay.
for good reason, obviously, or you'd be
Sure.
paying, 10,000 a year for your coverage.
Right.
So that's one restriction. And those people that live within 50 miles of the coastline really need coverage for flood, which is a separate kind of policy. Or
Yes.
if you're in a flood zone anywhere in the United States, flood is not covered under policies. Only certain kinds of water damage, like pipe leakage, pipe bursts, things like that.
Okay.
But man-made, or I mean, nature-made types of claims typically aren't covered under insurance,
Okay.
earthquake, like that.
Okay. So let's kind of move in the direction, say, of a spa owner or an permanent makeup artist that has a studio that hires people, or maybe they have subcontractors. What's the difference there? Who needs to get that insurance? I mean, what do you recommend?
Well, and that's a good question because that does happen in the beauty industry. There's a lot of independent contractors. So we can cover them under the spa's policy, whether they're an employee or an independent contractor. There's an additional technician fee for that coverage, but we're one of the few that will cover independent contractors in your spa. You have to be careful on whether they're really an independent contractor or an employee, and we can go into that
Mhm.
because people are misclassified a lot, and that can cause the spa a problem. But depending on the arrangement that that spa has with that contractor, they may want them to have their own policy because that contractor is only covered while at your spa. If they work 3 other places, they probably want their own policy. And if you do hire a contractor and they have their own policy, be sure they list the spa as an additional insured. Because let's say a contractor is working at your location and they injure somebody and they have their own policy. Well, they're covered, but the spa's not covered unless they're listed on the independent contractor's policy as an additional insured. So that's critical.
Okay.
Just because they have coverage doesn't mean it protects you unless you're listed.
Right.
So that's
I know I
important
have
thing.
that. I have that set up on my policy. I work for some surgeons in San Antonio and I go in and just do work at their clinic. So they're listed as an additional insured. And I believe my people that I lease from my building, I think I have them listed as well as additional insured. And it's not a lot. I mean, it's very reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's $15. So
yeah.
And pretty much every landlord out there, Terry, requires to be listed on your policy as the landlord as an additional insured.
Yeah. Okay, now, if I'm working at several different places as an independent contractor, I probably have to have my own insurance as well. You recommend that? You recommend, I think from what I watched on your other podcast, you kind of recommend both the spa owner has that insurance for the independent contractor, and just to be double covered, the independent contractor has a policy listing the spa owner. Is that right?
No, you don't really need both.
Okay.
The only time you'd need both is if the independent contractor works a number of places and the spa owner wants them to have their own policy.
Okay.
And the spa owner wants to make sure they're protected. Sometimes the spa owner will list that technician on their policy and require the technician to have their own coverage.
Okay.
Because not everything's covered under every policy.
True.
If your technicians and procedures aren't listed on your application or they aren't updated during the year, like if you hire a new person or you start doing laser treatments and you don't inform your insurance company, typically those people and those procedures are not covered.
Okay.
So you have to just, make sure you update your agent or the insurance company with what you're currently doing.
Okay. I think also, I know because I'm a supplier, and in the past I've done private labeling, I've sold products. You recommend, well, we do have to be insured for that, don't we?
Well, you do, and I don't know of anybody else that covers private labeling other than a standalone policy. We cover it as an addition to your policy.
Okay.
And that coverage, gosh, Terry, that starts usually about $5,000 a year.
Yeah.
To cover, because insurance doesn't cover everything you do unless you kind of add parts of the coverage to that, like your auto coverage. You can have uninsured motorists or not have that on your policy.
Yeah.
So we're one of the few that cover private labeling of products, and our charge is $600 a year instead of $5,000.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So,
the difference, crazy.
Yeah. The one thing that people kind of make a mistake with insurance is they think the policy is going to cover anything that happens. But, your homeowners and medical coverage, they don't cover anything that happens. They cover certain things. Insurance is a contract between you and the insurance company that says, we're going to cover these risks at this premium with these rules, with, these exclusions and these conditions. So if a meteorite hits you in the head, you're not covered under your spa malpractice insurance because there's no connection there.
Right.
So we do have people try to file incredibly ridiculous claims. Like somebody got turned down for a job, so they wanted to file an insurance claim. So, that,
yeah.
Or, they didn't have car insurance, but they were in a car accident, so they want to file against their spa policy.
Yeah.
That's not connected.
People out there are crazy. They try to find money anywhere. And I just, I know something you mentioned in that other podcast that I thought was really interesting. You use the analogy of a car having like a little dent and a little accident in a parking lot with a little dent. You wouldn't go and file a claim on that because it would just make your price go up. So not everything needs to be, filed a claim on. Explain kind of more on that.
Well, and that is true. That's my opinion. Insurance companies base premiums and whether they're even willing to renew you on two factors. They look at severity and frequency. So if you have a lot of small claims or one large claim, you probably won't get renewed.
Okay.
They may double the premium or they may just decline renewal. So that's why you don't file a claim for a few $100s,
Right.
because you don't want that. The claims process is going to cost more time for you than the $500 is worth.
Sure.
Plus, then you have a claim on your record. But I mean, sure, you should use insurance for when you have a general liability or professional liability claim or a business contents personal property claim. But call your agent and get their feedback. Even if you think you might have a claim or that a customer was injured, call your agent and kind of have a game plan in case they want to file a claim. Many don't.
Yeah.
If you have a good relationship with that client, they may not file a claim for a minor injury.
That's true. I had a really weird case in my waxing studio. Do you want to hear it?
Sure.
I don't remember if I called you or not, but I was freaking out. We're full body waxing, men and women in our studios. We've been doing this since 2006. I had a highly experienced waxer. She'd been with me for years. She was doing a male Brazilian one day, and she literally, I don't know what happened, but the scrotum was torn and he was bleeding everything. It was a horrible situation. I was panicking. She was panicking, but he just left like calm, no problem. And so we contacted him the next day. My whole theory in life is, be kind to people, reach out, check on them, kill them with kindness, and maybe you won't get sued. That's my motto in life. So anyway, we repeatedly contacted him and he was so nice and we never heard anything on him again. He never filed a claim. So just that's my advice to all you artists out there. If you have a client that's not happy, just keep in contact with them until it comes to the time to reach out to Ken and get advice on what to do,
And that's generally pretty good advice. But if a claim is filed or a lawsuit is filed, then I recommend you stop contacting the client.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
You can say things that make it worse,
Right.
even though you're trying to be proactive and kind. Sometimes, no good deed goes unpunished type thing.
That's
So
right.
once a claim or a lawsuit is filed, then you don't contact them.
And I know I've called you all before and said, hey, this client's not really happy. I'm not sure what's going to happen. So you were talking about getting advice from you, so that's always good to know. We have somebody to call up and talk through a situation. Maybe we'll get a night's sleep that night,
That's the goal.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So one other thing you brought up, the difference between independent contractor and employee as far as the IRS goes.
Yeah. This is a common mistake. So, and actually it causes a problem, not in your liability insurance, but in your workman's comp insurance, which is separate, or your EPLI, employment liability coverage, which are different than your general and professional coverage. So you really should have an EPLI policy for employment matters, for human resources matters, whether it's a claim of prejudice or harassment or a workman's comp policy that covers injury. So, and I'm sorry, what was your question again?
My question is, as far as the IRS goes, I know a lot of
as far as
people are
independent
confused
contractors.
about the two.
Yeah, so independent contractors come up as an issue more in workman's comp and EPLI policies,
Okay.
because what dictates that relationship is not what you say they are. A lot of spas call an employee an independent contractor because they don't want to pay Social Security tax on them. But what really dictates their role is how they're treated. If they're paid any kind of hourly wage or salary, they're an employee right automatically, according to the IRS. If you manage them or supervise them or set their hours, set their work schedule, provide their supplies and equipment, there's about 20 of these guidelines, which are very easy to find on the IRS site. And it's kind of a threshold type thing. Certain items like a salary or an hourly wage automatically kick them into the employee bucket. Some of the others, like managing them, how much you manage them, and whether you set their hours, those are a little grayer, but they kind of accumulate. If you like hit check 5 of those boxes, that person is going to get kicked into the employee bucket.
Yeah.
And where that comes into a problem is they have a workman's comp claim. And you and your insurance company are saying, well, they're an independent contractor. They're not an employee. They're not covered by my work comp policy. And the person says, oh, no, I'm an employee. They set my hours, because they've been advised that if they're an employee, they'll get coverage.
Yeah.
So there, in the case of an injury to a person, their effort is to be classified as an employee, and the SPA's effort is to keep them as an independent contractor. What really matters is how they're treated. So don't classify somebody as an independent contractor when you're treating them as an employee.
Yeah.
It won't affect our coverage because we cover both, but it will affect things like an employment claim or a workman's comp claim.
Yeah. I've also heard the IRS can go back years later and say, oh, you were actually an employer and you owe this much.
That can't happen. The state taxing authority is usually more aggressive with that, but it can happen both. And it usually is triggered by an injury.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to tell us or share with us that I haven't asked you? Something you think is important?
Just be accurate when you submit your application.
Okay.
Be proactive with your agent if an injury does occur. Be sure to update things with your latest new hires or procedures that you do.
Okay.
And that's really all you need to do. And pay your premium.
Yeah.
We offer to finance premium for our members because we know that, cash flow and running a business, they got 100 irons in the fire. So we'll do that. But mostly just do a good job at the treatment you're doing.
I hear you. Be the best you can be and treat your clients right. Okay. So you mentioned to me before we came on that you were offering a discount.
Yeah.
You want to speak on that a little bit?
Sure. Well, I just decided yesterday that since you're recording and broadcasting this for all of your followers, that we should do something for them. So we came up with a promo code of fall 24.
Okay.
That's good from now, October 1st to the end of the year. So it doesn't count for renewals, but any new customer that starts their coverage or becomes a member with Allied, you need to be a member of Allied to get the insurance. They'll get a $100 discount using that promo code, and they just need to go to alliedbeautyexperts.com, and it's pretty easy to set up your username and password and click a button, to apply for insurance, and then just put in that promo code.
I love it because I can go on there and I can check things, and we're always bringing in new people and I can just go add them. It's not complicated. It's a very easy, user-friendly website. So yeah, thank you so much for your time today. I know our artists really appreciate it. And I just, it's mind-blowing to see how much we really don't know about the business side. And we need people like you to help us out, and we appreciate it.
Well, it's kind of important to at least know a good accountant and a good attorney and have a relationship, even if you don't engage them or pay them a retainer. You should at least know one.
Yes.
And often 80% of the time, Terry, when somebody has a claim, one of my first questions is, well, do you have an attorney that you work with? And 80% of the customers don't.
Mhm.
Don't even know one, which is kind of nice that they never needed one.
Right.
But, then you got to find one, and you got to find somebody that is a litigator, not a transactional kind of attorney.
Mhm. Yeah.
So relationships, that's like anything else. You have relationships with your clients, and then you have your business relationships.
Right. Okay, so I am going to put your link in on YouTube under the comments. This will be this live video will be probably usually takes YouTube 30 minutes to an hour to get it up. So to where people can view it. So in the comment section, I will put that code in there, your discount code. And if anyone has any questions, I'll also add your phone number if they want to give you a call.
Yeah, add the 800 number.
Okay.
Which is 800-444-7546.
7546. Sounds
And the
great.
email, the best email to use would be insurance@beautyexperts.net.
Insurance@beautyexperts.net. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to add all that information, and we sure appreciate this. This will be online for everybody to watch over and over if they need to figure out all the different kinds of insurance they need. And again, I want to thank you so much, and we appreciate your time with us today.
Oh, you're very welcome. And as you know, you can always call.
Yes. All right, Ken,
All
have
right.
a good
Thank you, Terry.
afternoon. Thank